Boruto was just shown talking to Kawaki in the new promo panel of chapter 15, and the outcome of this conversation could unveil a lot of mysteries for the story, like how Kawaki gets into this new form from the flash forward, or the promised character development that will get him there. This panel shows us Boruto and Kawaki having a conversation on top of the Hokage mountain and connecting it with the events of the last chapter. It seems like Boruto himself wanted to have a talk with Kawaki, as he seems to know something about his future. He starts off by telling him that no matter what, he will need to get stronger. This may be a reference to the current circumstances with the Shinjus and how defeating them needs Kawaki to level up, as he could be seen getting tossed around by Jura, reflecting how he is a fodder as compared to them. The Shinjus are 10 tails in humanoid form, and Kawaki has obtained the Kama, which almost makes him an Otsutsuki, as he can utilize the powers of late Ishiki. But there's still a huge amount of difference between the power levels of both the characters. Since Ishiki had the first-hand experience of grinding thousands of years as an Otsutsuki, the weaponized Kama of Kawaki won't be able to give him such experience. Otherwise, the Shinju shouldn't be a big deal for him. Arguing he's an 80% Otsutsuki doesn't make sense here, cause 80% of Ishiki's powers must have been enough to destroy them all. But since Kawaki ain't able to do that, it's pretty much clear that he's just using a tool to replicate the Otsutsuki powers instead of their experience. There will be a total of 5 possibilities related to how Boruto will help in unlocking Kawaki's new powers, and I will explain the final 2 in a separate video, so make sure to subscribe to not miss them. Also, Ishiki unlocking the power of Kurogen, the same eye that was depicted in Shibai's panel, only means that he was close to attaining godhood. So opposite to what Code said about the Kama, Kawaki for some reasons ain't able to utilize Ishiki's full experience, and that may be one of the reasons Boruto asked him to get more stronger, since relying on the Kama is a complete waste against the present enemies. Then Boruto brings the Naruto angle, telling Kawaki that if he calls himself his disciple and wants to make the world safe before unsealing him, then it's better for him to receive direct training, but they don't have enough time for that. Now he could be referring to Kawaki receiving training directly from Naruto after unsealing him, but that won't be the best idea right now, simply because the Shinju situation is getting worse with every moment, and if Kawaki wastes his time training, there won't be any world left to save. Followed by this statement, Boruto is about to tell him a conclusion that he would have reached on his own, and if the outcome remains the same, then it's best to act as fast as they can. Now the reason which makes me think he's not referring to Koji here has something to do with Kawaki reaching the conclusion given by Boruto at his own. If it was a reference to Kashin Koji, then it would mean that Kawaki will not just come to know about the Shinjutsu of Koji, but would also think of it as the best way to get more stronger. The problem with this conclusion is that it demands Kawaki to not just meet Koji, but also train under him and find out all of these things by himself. But since it's not likely for Kawaki to end up in such a scenario and decide if he wants to train with Koji or not, then it means that the prediction of Boruto must be about something else. It's a situation that Kawaki will reach sooner or later, but right now he's unaware of it. Boruto could reveal it to him so that he could grow stronger as quickly as possible, and considering we don't have a mistranslation in our hands, it's definitely not about Kashin Koji's prescience. So what else could be something that Kawaki will learn at his own and then have the decision to go with it or not? I think Boruto is talking about a secret power-up that Amado may have implanted within Kawaki's body. It fulfills 2 criteria of this revelation. First, it's something that he could eventually get to know about himself. Maybe that's what Boruto and Koji got to know through prescience, meaning that in some possible future, Kawaki gets an update from Amado later sometime, and Boruto wants him to receive that power in advance in order to become capable of defeating the Shinjus. This yet again gives us a hint to understand the prologue sequence. Boruto is trying to be the greater person by helping out Kawaki in a helpless situation, but little does he know his brother will turn on him again after receiving that major power-up. If Boruto actually ends up being the reason behind Kawaki's next power-up, then it would add an interesting layer to the story, since he would himself be responsible for Konoha's destruction by putting too much trust on his father's disciple. While Amado being the one behind Kawaki's major power-up is a major possibility, it's definitely not the only one. Something else that I think Boruto could recommend Kawaki might be a brand new Shinjutsu awakening. He could ask him to activate the cells of Shibai that Amado modified into his body, which would eventually grant him a major power-up. This possibility also matches the criteria of the scenario being something that Kawaki would eventually come to know about himself, and it could have made him a lot stronger in the future, which is why Boruto thinks it to be the best possibility in leveling up his brother. together. Also, there are not one but two ways for the writers to explain how Kawaki got the cells of Shibai. First, it's obviously Amado, since he modified all the members of Kara with the divine cells. Looking at how Kawaki also had a Roman numeral tattooed on his face, he was definitely a member of Kara, which means he must have been modified by Amado as well. Or it could simply be the transplantation of Boruto's blood, which was also energized with Shibai's cells. Either way, it's highly likely for Boruto to inform Kawaki about the divine DNA that could make him a lot stronger. The flashforward has already foreshadowed Kawaki misusing whatever power he gets his hands on, but Boruto being the reason behind ranking up his counterpart has become a vital and interesting layer. Judging by what he said to Kawaki, it seems like he already knows that his counterpart would grow up to become really strong. But the only possible outcome, which is the destruction of Konoha, is a future that he may not have foreseen yet. This means even though he would make Kawaki really strong, something that he won't consider is the misuse of those obtained powers. Now the question remains, assuming if Boruto will be the one to help out Kawaki in getting his superpowers early, why didn't he take into account the possibility of what his brother would do after becoming a lot more stronger? Well, the major thing here is the outcome that Boruto believes could be the same. It must be some sort of positive aftermath, which is why he thinks even if he prepones Kawaki's attainment of new powers, nothing could possibly go wrong. But what he didn't consider was the possibility that no character in the verse could think of, and it's only through the reader's comprehension which could help us to evaluate conclusions like these. The only thing that prevents Koji from warning Boruto about the destruction of Konoha could be his own death. That's right. I believe just like Aida cannot use her Shinjutsu to look into the past prior to her birth, Koji can also neither look into the future beyond his death, nor he should be able to see how he dies. Cause if he knew Kawaki would be the one to kill him, he would very likely never allow Boruto in granting him a helping hand. There are many reasons for Kawaki to kill Kashin Koji. We know Kawaki would soon get to know that he is the source behind Boruto's future knowledge, so once he makes up his mind to end the shinobi world, Koji could become a hurdle in his plan, since he could tell Boruto multiple ways to prevent the future from going worse. So to eliminate the possibility of Boruto getting in his way, Kawaki misusing his newly acquired powers to destroy Kashin Koji is a major possibility. This is why Boruto couldn't foresee the only possible outcome. The stubbornness of Kawaki would get him to a point where even Boruto would regret his decisions of showing trust in him. Another possibility of Kawaki's major power-up involves Boruto telling him the secret ways to activate his Shibai cells, or the next stage of the Kama in advance. It may be something that would take him years to attain, but with the instructions of Boruto, he could take his Kama powers to a whole new level, something that would have been a faraway thing for him under normal circumstances. The thing that will drive us to the sequence of the prologue is Boruto's naivety at believing Kawaki won't cross any more lines after getting an assurance that the threat of Momoshiki is gone. Kawaki's obsessions are twisted, and he will soon change them to eliminating the shinobi system for reasons that I will get to in a moment. The final possibility that I think could be an interesting plot twist has something to do with the future Trunks theory. Basically, the present version of Boruto is obtaining all his techniques and information from the future counterpart, and it looks like this version of him from a different timeline had lived pretty worse life than him. So now that Koji has helped the present Boruto to live a better life than his future self, the same is now being applied to Kawaki so that his early attainment of new powers won't make him the person from the future, and this would mean that the fight from the prologue sequence takes place in a completely different timeline. Another major hint to support this theory comes from Kawaki not having access to Boruto or Koji's knowledge of the forthcoming in the future timeline, so the present Boruto telling him these things in advance may actually prevent him from going that far. This also means that we will soon get a multiversal twist in Boruto, where we would get to see him obtaining his new powers without Koji in a completely different timeline. The same timeline where Kawaki messed up and became the destroyer of shinobis. There's a lot more to this theory, like how the Boruto from the future becomes a time traveler just like future Trunks, and you can check the video on the right to find out more. Or if you believe everything happens in the present timeline, check out the video on the left to find out how we could get there. I will see you next time.